Welcome to NASA's coverage of the 2023 Annular Solar Eclipse, live from Kerrville, Texas. I'm Tahira Allen with NASA Communications, and I'm joined today by Dr. Gina DiBraccio, the Deputy Director of our Goddard Space Flight Center's Heliophysics Science Division. Gina, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me, Tahira. Happy to be here.
I mean, it's a big day for heliophysics, which is the study of the sun. So Gina, I'm dying to know, how are you feeling right now?
Oh, I'm thrilled. We've been planning this day for such a long time, and I can't believe it's finally here. It's so exciting.
And I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better day, folks. It's blue skies. We've got the sun beaming. It's incredible.
It's great.
And so today's celestial event will be visible for millions in the Western Hemisphere, with 48 contiguous U.S. states and parts of Alaska witnessing at least a partial eclipse. Now, some cities, like Kerrville, Texas, are in what's called the path of annularity for today's events. So, Gina, can you break down what that means and what somebody in this path can expect?
Sure, Tahira. So when a solar eclipse happens, the sun, the moon, and the earth are all in line. Now, for an annular eclipse, the moon will be just a little bit further away from the earth than during a total solar eclipse. And that means when the moon crosses in front of the sun, we're left with this ring of fire that we see in the sky.
That is going to be incredible to witness in person. And folks, the eclipse has already begun sweeping across the United States. First starting in Oregon at 9:13 a.m. Pacific and ending in Texas at 12:03 Central. From there, it will continue its path through Central and South America. Now, keep an eye on the telescope feed in the box on your screen. We're going to be sharing live views from across the eclipse path throughout today's show. Now, Gina, is there a way to know what kind of viewing experience I can have in my city?
Sure. So our viewers can go to go.nasa.gov/Eclipse Explorer, and that will take you to that interactive map that we have, and you can see when and what your viewing experience will be.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Gina.
Absolutely.
And folks, if you go ahead and look in that feed in your screen, this is a live view of Kerrville, Texas, and you can see the moon is already starting to inch across the sun right now. So again, this is a good time to mention where this eclipse goes today. We go during today's broadcast. So if you're not in the path of annularity and still want to see that ring of fire effect, don't worry. Our friends from Time and Date are bringing us live telescope views from across the path of the annular eclipse, starting first in the United States and then following the action as it sweeps across Central and South America. We have a lot of exciting things planned for you throughout the show. You're going to see what it's like inside a hot air balloon at the world's largest balloon festival. We'll then check in with astronauts aboard the International Space Station. You'll hear from a very special guest about eclipse safety, and then learn all the ways you can participate in next year's total solar eclipse. This is going to be the last time a total solar eclipse passes across the mainland U.S. for 2 decades. Now, you can interact with our experts in today's show by sending in questions using the hashtag AskNASA on social media, or by dropping them directly into the comment stream wherever you're watching. Now, today we are here for an annular solar eclipse. But did you know there is actually a difference between an annular and total solar eclipse? Now, imagine the sun is having a spotlight show in the sky. In a total solar eclipse, the moon moves right in front of the sun and covers it up like a big curtain, making everything dark for a little bit. It's similar to what you would see at dusk or dawn. Now, because the moon is completely blocking the light from the sun, we're able to see the sun's corona during a total solar eclipse. Now, in an annular solar eclipse like today, the moon is going to be a bit too far away to completely cover the sun. So like Gina said, when you look up at the sky, you're going to see the sun with a glowing ring around the moon. Because of this, it is often called a ring of fire effect. And as you can see on your screen right now, it is going to be a really, really cool and unusual sight. Now, a word of caution, though. Because the sun is never completely covered during an annular eclipse, it is important to always wear your eclipse safety glasses anytime you look at the sun. Now, both types of eclipses are amazing shows, just with different perspectives. So today we're going to be bringing you views of the annular eclipse, and you're going to have an opportunity to view a total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. Now, Gina, anything you would add to that?
Of course, Tahira. So the science with the annular eclipse
Yes.
and the total solar eclipse, we can do great science, and NASA has a bunch of experiments which you'll hear about later today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Gina. And folks, it's time to meet your other hosts. We have James Traley at our Eclipse desk. He's going to be keeping us keyed into the action, connecting with telescope operators across the country to show us live views as annularity sweeps the nation. And we also have Joy Ung and Michael Kirk at our Albuquerque desk. They're going to be joined with special guests throughout the show to talk about how important eclipses are to all the science we do at NASA and how you can play a part in the activities leading up to 2024's total solar eclipse. Now we're going to head out to Joy and Michael later, but first, James, how are things looking on your end?
Hey, Tahira, so excited to be joining you live from Kerrville, Texas. I've got my Eclipse glasses ready to view today's big event, the annularity, right here in just a few moments. We should be getting our first view from the West Coast in just a few moments. Up in Eugene, Oregon, they'll have the first awesome view from the United States. And you can track all of today's events using this interactive tool we've developed called our Eclipse Explorer. If you want to play around with this, go to go.nasa.gov/Eclipse Explorer. This is a fantastic tool that allows you to preview exactly what the eclipse is going to look like in your neck of the woods. You can see this path that it's going to be taking all the way down to us in Kerrville, Texas, starting out in the Pacific Northwest. But even if you're outside of that area of influence, say, for example, you're watching today's broadcast live from Milwaukee, you'll get a great view of a partial eclipse. And these little icons that you see here, these little googly eyes, if you will, they're actually clickable. So if I go to Eugene, they're supposed to have peak annularity beginning at around 9:17 a.m. Pacific. If I click on this little googly eye, it'll snap right to that time, and you can preview exactly where it's going to be. So you still have plenty of time to start getting up to speed with exactly what this annular eclipse or partial eclipse is going to look like in your neck of the woods. So I certainly encourage you to play around with this tool. And if we go to our real-time view of it now, you can see that a partial eclipse is already impacting a very large portion of the United States, stretching all the way out to as far as Nashville. And so very excited for our moment in this partially eclipsed sun here in Kerrville, Texas. We're expecting that to begin at around 11:50 a.m. local. I'm going to continue to track the movement of this annular eclipse across the U.S. But for now, back to you, Tahira.
Thank you so much, James. So excited to see that first instant of the Ring of Fire effect soon. Now, Gina and I are joined with Leslie Garrison.
Hi, Leslie.
Who is going to show us how to make a pinhole viewer to observe today's events if you do not have your Eclipse glasses.
Yes.
So, Leslie, I see you've got a few different pre-built pinhole viewers with you right now. Can you first just walk us through how this even works?
Yes, absolutely. So, to safely view the sun today, we brought a couple of items. We have a colander, a pinhole, a peg hole, a sheet of cardstock, and a hole punch. And so we're going to use them to simply create what we call a pinhole projector. And so in order to use these or to make these, you need a few items from home, but number one, make sure to never look at the sun directly, but number two, make sure when you are making and creating and using these that the sun is to your back so that the sun's light can cast light through the holes.
And you just, what, put it up and have it
Yep.
Put
a shadow on the ground?
Absolutely. And
Remember,
so
behind
on the
you.
paper model, we are going to put a hole here, and the light is going to go directly through it. Peg hole, the colander, and the NASA 3D printed model already has a hole. All you have to do is wait for the eclipse to happen and see the view of the sun on a surface area.
That's great. So, Leslie, can you go over those materials just one more time?
Absolutely. So at home, you probably already have a colander. This is just a pegboard toy from my son's toy box, and a sheet of cardstock and a hole punch. But NASA has a cool event online. You can see our URL somewhere on our screen, and you can go online and make these items at home to use.
So really, you just need something with a hole.
You need
that
something
can
with a hole.
put, yeah.
The sun's light can shine through, so on the surface area, and you can see the eclipse on that surface area.
Simple,
Great.
effective.
Yeah.
Leslie, thank you so much
Thank
for your
you
help
for having
today.
Leslie.
And folks, this is a good time to remind everybody that it is dangerous to look directly at the sun without specialized eye protection for solar viewing during today's events. Now, we have a very special guest that you might recognize popping in to share some important tips to make sure that you stay safe during an annular eclipse.
Hi, Eclipse enthusiasts. Lance Bass here, and I want to tell you how to protect those eyes and stay safe during a solar eclipse. During the
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you're joining us from. Welcome here to the Launchpad and our live coverage of the 2023 annular solar eclipse passing across the United States. You can see that live view in the top left corner of your screen as we continue to watch the moon block out the sun as part of this year's annular solar eclipse. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. We want to, of course, as they're making a reminder right now with some beautiful copyrighted music, do not look at the sun if you have not taken the opportunity to acquire some solar eclipse glasses or some other very specific type of safety glasses, as this can cause permanent damage to your eyes, and we don't want any of you not to be able to see all the exciting launches coming up the rest of this year and next year and into the future. But as they showed there, a couple easy ways. You can take a piece of paper, punch a hole in it, hold that between the ground and the sun, and aim and still be able to see the eclipse, or put up our live stream on your big TV and enjoy it from the safety of your couch or phone. But an exciting day. Solar eclipse is not something we see every year, especially passing over such a large portion of the United States. And this is the first of two major solar eclipse opportunities happening within the next year. Next year in 2024, there will be another major solar eclipse with a total solar eclipse opportunity. So we hope that you will join us live for that as well. But we're glad to be bringing you live coverage from today's stream, taking a look at where the eclipse is currently sitting. You can see in the bottom left corner of your screen, we'll bring that up full screen. That's a live view from Kerrville, Texas. You can see where that eclipse has begun, now covering probably about 10-15% as it continues to make its way towards totality as we continue to track. Let's listen back in to NASA and their solar eclipse team.
I'm joined with one of NASA's eclipse experts, Dr. Michael Kirk. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's an absolute honor and a privilege. I'm so excited to be here today.
So we're currently on the grounds of the Anderson Abruzzo International Balloon Museum in Albuquerque, and behind us, the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta is also happening. And in fact, a balloon is also about to get inflated right behind us, which is really, really exciting. So Michael, have you seen an annular eclipse before?
I have seen an annular eclipse in New Mexico back in 2012, but this is a special event here today. With the Balloon Fiesta going on, there are literally thousands of people behind us all getting ready for this event. This is one of the most special eclipses I've ever been to.
This will be my first annular eclipse. I'm really excited, and the skies are looking really clear, so I have my fingers crossed that it stays that way. So we have these incredible balloons over the past week, but did you know that NASA also does science experiments and develops technology using balloons? They're slightly different from hot air balloons. So to learn more, I chatted with Chris Yoder from NASA's Scientific Balloon Program. Hi Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you're part of NASA's balloon program. What is the difference between a NASA scientific balloon versus a regular hot air balloon?
Good question. So hot air balloons are air-filled, and the air is heated to create the buoyant through the lift that gives them flight. Generally, they float at a couple thousand feet, and they go up and down in a matter of hours. Scientific balloons, on the other hand, are quite different. So our largest balloons can fit a football field inside their equator, and they can fly for much longer. So payload capacity is about 8,000 pounds, several SUVs. The duration can be up to 5 or 6 weeks at a time, and the altitudes can be up to 160,000 feet, about 4 or 5 times the height of a commercial airliner.
Wow.
So quite a bit different, yeah.
That's incredible. And you launch all over the globe. So you launch from New Mexico in the US, New Zealand, and even McMurdo Station in Antarctica. Why do you launch from all those different places?
In short, we go where the science needs us to go. Some scientists need Northern Hemisphere science for galaxies and star formations. That's why we go to Sweden. Same thing in the Southern Hemisphere. That's why we go to Antarctica. Most missions need some kind of trial or test system, so they'll fly from New Mexico to prove their science or even just collect science at a shorter duration. And then for missions that are a little more risky, we'll go out to PMRF in Hawaii.
So can you describe to me what launch day is like?
It's an incredible feeling, right? So you see the balloon be released, you hear the rustle of the fabric and the rush of the wind as it stands up. You see the balloon be released on the vehicle and ascend, and it just gives you chills every time you watch it. It's a really great feeling.
That sounds incredible. So how many of these balloon experiments have been sun-focused or eclipse-focused?
So about 8 to 10% of our portfolio is heliophysics missions. One of the ones that stands out in my mind is one I got to see launch in 2019 from New Mexico. It's called the BITSI mission, and it was looking at the corona, or the kind of the outer edge of the sun, and looking at how that behaves under different conditions.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks again for having me.
Our balloon program has been around since 1961, so it's no surprise that our balloons are constantly innovating and discovering new science. So let's dive into some of the big science discoveries that have been made with scientific balloons.
Critical tool in NASA's exploration arsenal.
Aslan, thank you so much for joining us on probably the busiest week of the year.
I'm so happy to be here with you all.
So we're here, the Fiesta started in the 70s with a small group of people, and now there are hundreds of balloons. Can you tell us more about the event and what it means to the city?
Absolutely. Well, it started in 1972 by a pilot named Sid Cutter, who had the idea to get a few hot air balloons together. He managed to get 13 together in a mall parking lot, and they expected a handful of people to show up, and hundreds did. And that's when he knew he was really on to something. And 51 years later, there's 100,000 people behind us on the field right now.
Oh my goodness. So the Balloon Museum, it's where you work and it's where we are right now. Could you tell us a little bit about the relationship between the Balloon Museum and the Fiesta itself?
Absolutely. We are very good neighbors. We are here 365 days of the year. We started in 2005, and we start with the early ballooning in the 1700s up through today, exploring the history, science, art, and just wonder of ballooning. And if you haven't been to Albuquerque, we invite you all to come back and check out this museum.
And what do you love most about the Fiesta and the museum this week?
New Mexico is such an enchanting place to be, and the smell of roasting green chili in the air, there's nothing like it. There's a reason why Georgia O'Keeffe chose this place as her home. It's because of the open sky and the beautiful landscape, and we get to enjoy so much of that here. And when you think about it, there's like a spotlight shining on Albuquerque, and I think it's probably the best place in the whole wide world to be right now, today, Balloon Fiesta and an annular eclipse. I can't imagine anything better.
And how do you feel about an annular eclipse falling at the same time as the event this year?
It's just fantastic. I'm so happy to be here with you all, and Mother Nature has provided us the perfect sky today. Looking this direction, I don't see a single cloud. There's a bite out of the sun already, like it's bitten out of an apple, and I just am so excited to see the annularity.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm really excited to enjoy the annular eclipse together.
Me too.
So next, we are honored to hear from NASA Administrator Bill Nelson.
Hey everybody, we're so excited that you're joining us today for this solar eclipse. It's when the moon passes between the Earth and the sun. It's a big day for NASA scientists because eclipses present unique opportunities to study the sun. And what we learn from these eclipses along with our heliophysics research, has incredible benefits for our human exploration. The sun is a powerful, hot, glowing ball of hydrogen and helium, and it actually holds together the entire solar system. Without its energy, we couldn't exist here on Earth. Just think, it influences everything. What we do on Earth, growing crops, our economics. It even affects our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. We see its influences reflected throughout our culture as well, in art, music, religion, sports. And when you look up today with your Eclipse glasses, I hope you're going to remember all the ways that the sun impacts us. NASA will never stop studying our closest star for the benefit of all of us, terrestrial beings here on planet Earth.
Thank you, Administrator Nelson. So, Michael, we've been getting a lot of questions on social media. Shall we dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So, I have a question here from Priyesh Patel on YouTube, and they ask, do events like eclipses occur in a similar pattern geographically?
Oh, absolutely. Geographically, we get the same sort of shape of an eclipse that will move slightly northward in its progression. So this is called the Saros cycle. And every 18 years or so, there's a repeated pattern of an eclipse, and the pattern itself repeats a little bit further north each time. And so we get these overlapping patterns that are exactly the same over time.
Amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's really surprising. Okay, and before I go on to my second question, I just want to mention that in the telescope view now, we are seeing a partial eclipse and a lot of bite out of the sun.
Oh yeah, it's getting a bit bigger. We're not quite to 50% yet, but yeah, it is getting there. It's pretty exciting.
That's so exciting. Okay, so the second question I have is Sammy Connor on YouTube, and they ask, how does the Ring of Fire eclipse affect the light from the sun reaching Earth?
Ooh, that's a fantastic question, because this has something to do with the science that we can do with eclipses as well. So as the sun gets blocked by the moon progressively, there are parts of the sun, active regions specifically, that will be blocked, and the light from the active regions won't be able to hit the Earth's atmosphere. So we can actually study the effects. We can actually study these effects. We'll hear a little bit more about this later in the program.
Amazing. Okay, so a third question is, one of our viewers on YouTube asks, how do eclipse glasses work?
Ooh, that's a great question.
So these things.
Yeah, we have eclipse glasses. Okay, so you see the lenses right here. This is a mylar film, and the coating on it blocks over 99% of the white light that comes here. Not only that, but it also blocks infrared and ultraviolet light, so it keeps your entire eye safe. So it's really that coating that keeps us safe from the powerful sun's light.
I'm glad.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Of course.
So remember, wherever you're watching in the show, ask a question in the comments below using the hashtag AskNASA, and we'll be answering more later today. So now let's head back to Tahira and Gina in Kerrville, Texas.
Thank you, Joy and Michael. The weather looks great in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
It does, yeah.
So, folks, if you're just joining us, we're following the 2023 annular solar eclipse as it sweeps across the Americas. Now, coming up soon, James at our Eclipse desk will be plugging us into our very first views of annularity taking place in Eugene, Oregon. Now, Gina, as we anticipate this beginning first moment, can you walk us through what exactly is happening when an annularity takes place?
Sure. So when the annularity is taking place, that's when the moon is going to be in front of the sun. Now, for the annular eclipse, it's not going to completely block the sun, so we'll have that ring of fire that we get to see in the sky. And if you take a look at that live feed from the telescope that we're seeing right now in Kerrville, we already have a bite taken out of the sun from our perspective as well.
Wow, and so that's just going to pass directly over, but not fully cover it.
Exactly. We'll still have that ring peeking out.
Beautiful. And I mean, we're seeing something, but will anything else happen? Like, will we feel anything?
Yeah, so that's the fun thing about these solar eclipses is the fact that there will be environmental changes. So we'll feel that temperature drop, maybe a change in humidity and wind as well, but also nature will respond. So check out, how it feels around you. The birds will nest and go back to their trees. The crickets will come out, starting to chirp. It'll feel kind of dramatic when this happens too.
Can't wait to feel that with you today. And folks,
great.
I mean, it's not just us here on Earth plugged into today's action. Emily Ferfaro with NASA Communications had a chance to chat with 2 astronauts aboard the International Space Station to learn more about the sun from their unique perspective off our planet.
Jasmine, Satoshi, this is so exciting to be talking with you. This is the coolest thing.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. NASA talking with some of the International Space Station during today's annular solar eclipse. If you haven't yet, take a moment, hit that like button, share out the stream, invite people to join us. If it's cloudy or you're not in the path or don't have the proper safety glasses for looking at today's solar eclipse, you can watch it right here. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we'll work on answering those live to the best of our ability through the eclipse here today. Now over 20% covered in Kerrville, Texas. Waiting for NASA and SpaceX to continue their live view of the solar eclipse from their special cameras.
Now, it's a good time to check in with James at our Eclipse desk. James, how are things looking on your end?
Hey, Tahir, yes, so we're still just a little bit away from the annularity here in Kerrville, Texas. Really cool to see the science going on in the International Space Station. Coincidentally, there's actually some really cool science going on just a little bit to the west of us in just a few moments in White Sands, New Mexico. And right now I'm actually joined by scientist Jamie Favors, who can walk us through exactly what we're about to see with this sounding rocket launch. Jamie, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, James.
Yeah, so is this your first annular eclipse?
It is, yeah, and first time launching rockets into an eclipse too, so.
Amazing, and we're about to have the first of 3 launches. I understand we're kind of timing these launches out to specific times here, right?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. So we'll have 3 launches during the eclipse, about 35 minutes before the peak. That'll be this first one, right in the middle of the peak, and then 35 minutes after the peak. Studying that upper atmosphere, the ionosphere, kind of see what are those impacts from the sun that really change, important features of the upper atmosphere that impact things like radio communications, satellite operations. Yeah.
And we just had a launch yesterday in Cape Canaveral, Florida, of our Psyche mission. That's going out into deep space, but these rockets, which just launched actually here.
Perfect.
This is just took off, so this is actually
So-
going to come back down afterwards.
That's right. So we're seeing first stage burnout here, about 6 seconds in. It'll blink out for a second, so the rocket's still moving along. There we see the rail, the pad that we just launched from. So as we're launching into space, we're going to start making measurements roughly about a minute into launch, so we're a few seconds in now. I bet second stage lighting off at this point to take us all the way into space. So roughly that 1 minute mark is where we start to do a lot of the science. The payload separates from the rocket. We have some deployables we'll release from that payload out at that point. We'll start moving that payload around in space so that it's starting to make good measurements. We have these booms or arms that come off of the payload, start making different measurements there of like magnetic structures, electric structures in the upper atmosphere, as well as temperature and density. You know, one way to kind of think about this, what the shadow of the eclipse is doing in that upper atmosphere is it's creating these waves as all those temperature and density changes are occurring. So kind of think about it in the way of like a boat moving through the water.
Yeah.
We've all seen a boat move and you see the waves propagating out from it or moving away from the boat. That same thing is happening here with the eclipse and that shadow. So with those 3 rockets, we're launching one right before the boat moves through,
Yeah, exactly.
one right in the middle of the boat coming by, and then one right after the boat moves through, or the eclipse shadow.
Sweet, and so we are just now a couple minutes away from actually getting annularity here in Kerrville, Texas. Our first view is actually going to be up in the Pacific Northwest, up in Eugene, Oregon. They are going to be experiencing this starting at around 9:17 local time. Jamie, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck for the next 2 launches.
Yeah, thank you so
And
much, James.
Back to you, Tahira.
Wow, I mean, if the day wasn't exciting enough, now we've got a rocket launch in the mix. This is
It's so exciting.
It's
This is great.
incredible. And I mean, what a NASA broadcast, right? And so thank you, James and Jamie. Now, Gina, we have a lot of great questions rolling in from our viewers online. How do you feel about taking a few?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So our first question is from Entertainment on Facebook, who asks, how often do eclipses happen?
Great question. Well, thank you for that. So there are actually eclipse seasons. And so we can get eclipses about 2 to 3 times a year. You might expect them to happen every time there's a new moon, but that's not the case because the orbit of the moon is tilted by about 5 degrees, which means sometimes the shadow is a little too high and it doesn't hit Earth, and sometimes a little too low. So we need those eclipse seasons as that sweet spot.
Okay, nice. And so I actually have a really great follow-up to that.
Okay.
Spectacular Science Podcast on YouTube asks, how do you predict solar eclipses then?
Okay, well, it's actually pretty straightforward how to calculate the eclipses because we have a good understanding of the moon's orbit. We have a good understanding of the Earth's orbit and how that whole system is connected. And so we kind of take the geometry and the inputs that we have, and we're able to pretty accurately predict those eclipses. And so these are things that we can look out decades in advance to understand when eclipses can occur.
Oh, cool. And so how often would an eclipse pass in the same city? Do you know?
Well, so for total solar eclipses, it's very unique for an eclipse to pass it's about once every 375 years that a location can experience it. So it's pretty hard to be in the same spot to see a total solar eclipse more than once.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we have a user on X who asks, will the International Space Station photobomb the eclipse? That would look very cool.
Yeah, and so we just got to hear from the International Space Station, and the unique thing about our astronauts on board is that they have a totally different vantage point for studying the eclipses, and they get to actually view the shadow of the moon as it passes over the Earth. And there are experiments that we have on board the space station as well. And so, with NASA, we have all of these different eclipse experiments that are taking place, and we try to take advantage of every perspective that we have.
Awesome. So we have a final question from Dante. This is going to be a quick one.
Okay.
But Dante on Facebook, who wants to know, will the moon block solar wind along its path during this Ring of Fire eclipse?
Oh, I love that question. So the solar wind is actually a stream of charged particles that's constantly coming off of the sun, and it interacts with the Earth and other planets in our solar system. Now, the Earth's magnetic field actually blocks a majority of those particles from interacting with Earth. Some are able to get through and interact with our upper atmosphere, but for the sake of the eclipse, most of the particles will still kind of be able to be deflected around the Earth's magnetic field. There will be some that are able to interact with the moon, but it wouldn't have a huge impact on what we experience at Earth.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Gina. And
You're
thank you to
welcome.
everybody sending in these questions online. We will get to some more of what you want to know by later on in the show. So keep sending those questions in using the hashtag #AskNASA. Now, let's check in with Joy and Michael to see what's new in Albuquerque. Joy, how's it going?
Thanks to her and Gina. So we're just under 30 minutes away from Annularity in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Michael, shall we put on our glasses to see what the sun and moon are doing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so you're seeing a deep partial solar eclipse. More than half of the sun is blocked out, and so you just see a crescent of sunlight peeking out.
Wow, that is amazing. Annularity is just going to be stunning. I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait either. This is terribly exciting. You can see a balloon inflating behind us. We have annularity coming. It is all coming together today.
I just can't believe that an annular eclipse is happening at the same time as the fiesta.
It really feels special, doesn't it?
And actually, earlier this week, I even got to fly in a hot air balloon, which is just amazing.
That's fantastic.
I met an amazing balloon pilot, Jonathan Wolf, who's been launching balloons in Albuquerque for decades. So let's take a look at our ride. So for complete newbies, how does a hot air balloon work?
It's a great question. It's physics, simply. We heat up the air inside the balloon, and that makes it less dense, and then that makes it float. Now, what that means, though, is we can only control up and down. The way we fly and the way we navigate is by choosing different layers of air to fly in.
And I've heard that there is a box, the Albuquerque box. Could you explain what that means?
Certainly. It's one of the reasons why Albuquerque is a famous place for ballooning. Sometimes what happens is at a higher elevation, the wind is going to the north, and at the surface, it's going to the south. That's what we call the Albuquerque box. Sometimes the box works out such that you can fly to the south and go up, fly to the north, and then come down and fly back south and land right where you took off, which is an extraordinary and wonderful accomplishment. It's super fun when you can do that.
So for someone who's never been in a balloon, what is it like?
It's unlike any other form of flying. In a balloon, you're actually outside, right? You're standing in a little basket, and there's no windows. You're just out there in the air, and it's just science, right? It's buoyancy, like I said, it's applied physics, but it feels like magic. It's a ballooner eclipse.
Oh yeah!
I love that. It's very calm. There's no movement, no wind. When you're moving with the wind, so you're at equilibrium. It feels very calm and peaceful. At the same time, it's really exciting and it's intense. So it's this wonderful combination of intensity and mellow, serene, tranquil beauty, absorbing nature. You can never experience that in any other form of flight.
Wow, that brings back great memories. And if you can hear the wind behind us, they're actually inflating the balloon I rode in just behind us, which is so cool.
So was that your first balloon ride?
It was my first balloon ride, yes.
Oh my goodness, how did it go? I remember taking one about 20 years ago and it was fantastic. What was your experience?
The most surprising thing is that when you're up there, you don't feel any wind against you,
right,
because you're actually moving with the wind, so it feels completely calm.
Oh, that's fantastic. So would you do it again? I found it terribly relaxing.
100%, yes. So it was actually also not that chilly, and we were only a few hundred feet off the ground as well.
Wow, that's amazing, because it's been chilly here all morning.
So as we learned earlier, NASA's scientific balloons fly much higher. They actually reach a part of our upper atmosphere where our International Space Station lives and where some of our satellites fly as well. So it's really important we learn about this upper region and how it could affect our lives on Earth. And NASA and NOAA are two agencies in the US that work together to help study this. And I'm joined with two people who can tell us more. So we have Dr. Elsia Talat from NOAA and Dr. Kelly Corrick from NASA. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Very excited to be here.
Very excited to be here. Thank you so much.
So let's start off with the basics. Elsia, what are those changes we see in that upper region?
Well, that's part of what we call space weather, which is the variable conditions on the sun, the Earth, and near Earth space due to solar and geomagnetic activity and storms. And that can affect human activity and our technological infrastructure.
Wow, fascinating. So, Kelly, how does space weather actually affect our life here on Earth?
Well, Elsa had alluded to the fact that it challenges our technology. So our power grids are sensitive to those currents that can be induced by this, as well as our satellites could also be impacted by these flares or the space weather. And we get some beautiful things too. We get the aurora out of it.
Nice.
Have you ever seen the aurora?
I have. Was absolutely beautiful. I laid on the ground for hours in the snow watching it.
So talking about space weather and the activity in our upper atmosphere, how do NOAA and NASA work together to better understand those phenomena?
Well,
let's start with, yeah.
NOAA is a go-to resource for space weather information. It watches the sun and the earth 24/7, and it's the nation's official source of forecast warnings and alerts for space weather to help decision makers prevent and mitigate the effects of space weather here on Earth. And in order to do this, we need information, and NOAA works with NASA to design, develop, and deploy space weather operational satellites to safeguard our society.
And what's NASA's role?
So NASA is a partner with NOAA, and we focus on the science and make sure that we're understanding our star and can do better and better predictions. So scientists use models and the data from all of these satellites in order to better understand space weather.
And what are some of the biggest mysteries around space weather? What don't we know about it?
Oh, there's so much. I mean, let's start at the sun, right? That's the focus today. Even how to predict flares long term, or those large coronal mass ejections, those billions of tons of material that come off. We don't quite know how to predict them for a long term yet.
Well, I'm so glad we have two agencies on the case. Thank you both, Elsa and Kelly. Thank you both for joining us. So, did you know that space weather is also affected by solar eclipses? One citizen science project does experiments during the annular solar eclipse and the total solar eclipse. So, let's learn more about that project.
When the moon blocks the sun during a solar eclipse, there is a noticeable impact on Earth's upper atmosphere, known as the ionosphere. These changes can affect radio communications, including amateur radio, also known as ham radio.
Ham radio is a way you can talk to people all around the world. You set up a radio and antenna. You talk into the radio sends a signal up to the antenna sends a signal up to the sky. It bounces off of the electrified layer of the sky back down to Earth, where you can talk to the person on the other side.
During the 2023 annular eclipse and the 2024 total eclipse, the Ham-Sci Citizen Science Project is inviting ham radio operators to transmit radio signals. The goal is to have people make as many radio contacts as they can with operators in different locations during these celestial events. By recording how strong their radio signals are and how far they go, ham radio operators and scientists can learn about how the ionosphere changes during solar eclipses.
Sometimes you can talk around the world, and sometimes you can't. And that's all based on what the ionosphere is doing, what the sun is doing. When it works, and you are able to talk to these faraway places, I find that really magical.
To learn how you can participate, follow Do NASA Science on X and Facebook.
There are currently ham-sci experiments happening right now across the country, and there'll be more during the total solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. If you want to learn how to participate, go to hamsci.org. So next, we're thrilled to be joined with the acting director of NASA's Heliophysics Division, Peg Luce. Peg, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
So, how are you feeling about the annular eclipse today?
Wow, it's happening, and we've been looking forward to this for so long. These are a rare celestial event that people can actually experience the effects of, so it's really exciting.
I'm so excited.
I am too.
So we've been chatting about the sun all morning, but can you tell us in detail what heliophysics is?
That is a good question. Many people ask. Heliophysics is actually a word that isn't yet in the dictionary, so we want to put it there. But helio is the sun. Physics, the science of matter and energy and how they interact. So we study the sun, how it works, how its energy flows out and affects all the planets, creates the solar system. And it's a very complex field and very exciting to study.
So we heard earlier that the sun touches everything. Can you describe a little bit about how the sun touches other NASA science disciplines?
Yes. So we like to say that heliophysics is really the science that interfaces and collaborates with all of the other areas of science that NASA studies. For instance, the sun is a star. And it's the only star that we can actually study up close. So for our astrophysics friends, we can learn in detail how our star looks, how it changes, how dynamic it is. So when they're using their tools like James Webb Space Telescope to study distant stars, they have up-close information from what we have learned. And then, of course, the sun's energy flows around all of the planets. It interacts with the Earth. Space weather affects the atmosphere of the Earth. And so it really is a collaborative and exciting field of study.
I love that the sun touches everything at NASA. So how does NASA touch everything we have here on Earth?
So I like to take this opportunity to remind people about NASA science. So most people, when they think of NASA, they think of astronauts and human spaceflight, which is, of course, so exciting. But NASA science is rewriting the textbooks all the time. We have so many discoveries and just so much. We have a Parker Solar Probe that is flying through the corona of the sun. We have the Voyagers that are outside the heliosphere. We have so much to learn that I could never even begin to talk about it. But I want to invite people to go to NASA at Home and check it out. You'll get just a little bit of more information about all that NASA science does.
It's an exciting time for NASA science.
It really is.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Peg.
Thank you.
So now let's head back to the Eclipse desk in Kerrville, Texas, where they're about to start tracking the start of the annular eclipse across the United States.
Thank you, Joy, Michael, and Peg. And Joy, you are absolutely right. Folks, we are moments away from the start of today's annular eclipse in Oregon. Now, I know I'm excited. This will be the first time I've ever witnessed one of these events, and I hope you are too.
It'll be my first annular eclipse as well. But Tahira, I was lucky enough to see the 2017 total solar eclipse, and that experience was amazing. So I think we're in for a treat today.
So this is going to be a totally new experience for you.
It will be, yeah.
And so, Gina, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and see if we can pull up the telescope feed from our friends at Time and Date. Wow.
Look at that. San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. We've got a live view of San Diego, California right now. What a beautiful partial eclipse.
Yeah, I mean the sun, it's a crescent. Normally we refer to the moon as a crescent moon, but this time it's the sun.
And I mean, normally we see, you know, the sun in the sky, the moon in the sky. Occasionally they might be together, but to see them overlapping, it really reminds you that we're a part of this just entire system.
I know.
And so
interplaying together, right? And you can tell, I mean, from this view, you can really appreciate the fact that from our perspective, the moon and the sun seem to look like they're the same size, even though in reality they're not, right?
It's incredible. You know what? Right now, let's go ahead and check in with James at our Eclipse desk. James, what's the latest?
Yeah, hey Tahira. So we have officially kicked off annularity here in the United States. If we look at our Eclipse Explorer, you can see that the area of effect of that annular eclipse has now hit Eugene, Oregon. They should have a phenomenal view there. And just a reminder to all of our viewers who are in that region, the Pacific Northwest, be sure to use your eclipse glasses as you're looking at the sun and the moon above. You should have a beautiful sight at this moment. That's going to last for just a couple minutes, so really take advantage of that big moment. You just saw that view in San Diego. Even if you're outside of this area, you might still have a beautiful view of a partial eclipse. And if I zoom in onto our little area of annularity, you'll notice kind of a couple little bumps and things here, which you might initially think is because it's low resolution. Maybe it's a little bit, low res here, but the inverse is actually true. We actually have an incredible amount of data feeding into our Eclipse Explorer to generate the images and the predictions that you're seeing on your screen. This tool takes into account two unique things. One is obviously the topography of Earth, so mountains, river valleys, all kinds of little divots and things as that shadow moves across the land. But also, and really interestingly, it takes into account the shape of the moon. When you think of the moon, you might just think it's perfectly circular, but there are so many little objects like mountains and craters and all kinds of things dotting the surface that are all being fed into this prediction that you're seeing here that will then show you exactly what the shadow is going to look like. You won't really be able to see this difference from the ground, but if you're up in space looking down at this, you'll actually be able to see that area kind of ripple almost as it's moving across the terrain. So definitely I encourage you to check out this tool. It's a really phenomenal one that's really just using so much data to feed into this. And again, even if you're outside of this area, I encourage you to use our tool to kind of predict what you're going to see. So if I scroll all the way over to the East Coast and I zoom all the way out here, you can just see just how large this area of partial eclipse is. This kind of outer circle that you see here is areas that might be having a partial eclipse. So if I click on, for example, Philadelphia, I know quite a few people watching there. It looks like it might be a little bit rainy, but if the sky clears up for you, you'll have a peak coverage for your partial eclipse at around 1:21 local time. So still plenty of time for you to get your glasses ready in order, get your pinhole projectors created. You had that instructions earlier in the broadcast, and really just take advantage of this incredible celestial moment. These don't really happen very often. So it's a really unique experience to be able to witness this live from here in Kerrville, Texas. Just a few moments, we'll actually be able to have that view from right here. I can hear the crowd already kind of buzzing. People have all their glasses ready to go, already kind of looking up and observing that partial eclipse. You just saw that coverage in San Diego. This is really sweeping across such a big area of the United States, and it's going to continue to move closer and closer and closer to us. You can see already since I've just started this conversation here, we've already moved away from Eugene, so they are no longer in annularity, and this is continuing to move into parts of Nevada. This will then continue to track further southeast to our friends out in Albuquerque at the Balloon Festival. They'll have a phenomenal view there, intermixed with the balloons and everything. It'll look awesome. And you're also seeing right now our live view of Kerrville, Texas. You can see we're already in pretty good coverage here with the partial eclipse. If I click on a Kerrville on our interactive map, you can see that we're expecting our peak coverage of the annularity to begin at 11:50. And I'll remind you again, if you're using our interactive tool, these are all clickable too. So if you wanted to click onto those and to see exactly what time and exactly what it's going to look like, actually, this is a prediction of what it's going to look like in your neck of the woods. And so actually, the path you're seeing this moon taking is the exact path it's going to look like the moon's taking in real life for you. So that little googly eye is showing that directionality. So for us, the moon has already entered in from kind of above the sun here. It's going to continue tracking down, eventually giving us that incredible ring of fire effect. I can't wait to see this live. This will be the first time for me ever seeing an annularity live. I'm super excited. So the hit is coming up again in Albuquerque, New Mexico. In just a little bit, they'll get a phenomenal view there. Keep tracking it. But for now, back to you, Tahira.
Incredible, James. And I mean, I think earlier you said buzzing. Like, Gina, it feels like the town is coming alive.
It is.
It's starting to get a little colder here.
I know, I'm kind of chilly.
So, I mean,
looking around, you can just see people are kind of lounging back with their safety eclipse glasses and just taking it all in and getting excited for this.
And not only will Kerrville see today's annular eclipse, they're also positioned to see the total solar eclipse next year, right? Like, how awesome is that? And so, folks, let's take a look at how the city has been preparing in the lead up to these special events.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at a live view from San Diego, California, in the United States, at a live view of the solar eclipse. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share the stream, invite people to join us. As NASA keeps saying, we're going to say it as well. Please remember, do not look towards the sun if the eclipse is in your path and you do not have the safety goggles, the special glass, or the solar eclipse glasses to be able to do so. This is for your safety, so you can watch many more launches and solar eclipses and events here to come in the future. If you haven't yet, also make sure you join us over on our TLP Discord or over on X. That's where you can see a photo that we just took from outside the TLP Canada studio. We've been watching the eclipse closely here, and it's just an absolutely beautiful but very crisp day up here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And just a great reminder that even if you're not in the path of the total angularity, you can still have a incredible view. We had about 57% coverage here, and absolutely great to see what you're seeing on your screens, a bit more than what we had here. But what's interesting, based on how far north we are at the Canada studio, our moon was at the 3 o'clock position instead of the 11, 12 o'clock position like you're seeing seeing on your screen now. So depending where you're watching from, you may have a different type of view, which is really awesome to see. Taking a look into the live view from Kerrville, Texas, where NASA is broadcasting. You can see them monitoring that angularity. NASA having successfully launched the first of 3 small sounding rockets in preparation and science research for today's solar angularity eclipse. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we'll work on answering those live to the best of our ability as we continue. Make sure you take a moment, share out the stream though, invite people to join us to watch the eclipse safely, and possibly head outside if they have the right type of equipment to look towards the sun.
Town is alive, preparing for these spectacular moments. Now, Gina, the sun not only impacts us here on Earth, right?
That's right, Tahira. So the sun impacts our entire solar system. And in fact, when we explore with NASA, that's something that we have to take into consideration.
So I'm glad you said exploring, because I actually just recently learned that the sun even impacts human exploration in the solar system, which I thought was really cool. So let's take a second and see how studying heliophysics is actually helping us prepare for sending humans to the moon and Mars.
You're now looking at a live view from Ely, Nevada, where you can see we're about to have total eclipse.
Part of the sun that you get to see during a total solar eclipse, when the moon totally blocks out the main body of the sun. And then the heliosphere is the bubble carved out by the sun as that corona turns into a solar wind and fills our solar system.
So I know that Punch has a big outreach effort as well, especially looking at humanity's interaction with the sun and observing the sun. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, humanity has been studying the sun and the moon and those different cycles for millennia. And one place where there's a lot of evidence of that studying of the sun is over in Chaco Canyon here in New Mexico. And actually our Punch outreach team, some of our Punch outreach team is over there in Chaco right now, where there's just so much evidence of ancient and modern sun watching. The ancient sun watching there evidence is on the rock of the sun, there's this petroglyph of what we think might be the 1097 total solar eclipse that actually went right over Chaco Canyon on a path similar to the annular eclipse today. And then, of course, the modern sun watching is what we're all doing here today, and of course our Native American partners on the Punch outreach effort that still honor some of their traditional sun watching efforts, and then of course our NASA missions like Punch and Parker Solar Probe.
That's amazing. And you mentioned Punch shows and studies the sun's atmosphere, the corona. Why do we need to study the sun's atmosphere?
The corona is amazing because it is hundreds of times hotter than the photosphere below it, the surface of the sun, the part that we should never look directly at. So that's amazing. That's like if you walked away from a fireplace and it got hundreds of times hotter. Now, we know it has to do with the magnetic fields rooted down in the sun, but we don't know exactly how that energy gets into the corona. So that's one of the things we're really interested in studying.
Right, so we're looking at a live shot on camera of this eclipse. We're getting really close to annularity. So what are you looking forward to as a scientist when you think about eclipses and especially with the new mission coming up?
Punch is going to be so amazing because it's going to take images of the corona and that plasma as it fills the solar system in regular white light, like we could see it with our eye if our eye were sensitive enough and if the moon always blocked out the main body of the sun. But it doesn't, and that's why we need NASA missions like Punch to do that for us.
Fantastic. I can't wait for the mission to launch.
Me neither. I'm super excited about it.
So we're like we're moments away, minutes away from the annular eclipse here. Nikki, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoy the annular eclipse.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been great.
And I hope you keep safe from the wind. The wind has kind of picked up right now. So yes, so the skies are clear, the wind has picked up, but we have a clear view of the annular eclipse. So remember, the annular eclipse is moments away from Albuquerque and the sun is never completely covered. So during the eclipse, you have to keep your eclipse glasses on the entire time. You can also use other indirect viewing methods too, like a pinhole projector if you don't have eclipse glasses. So Michael, do you have your glasses ready?
I have mine ready.
Great. So now let's go to a full screen view of the telescope here in Albuquerque. Wow.
Wow.
We are minutes away and you can see that the ring of fire is almost here.
Yeah, the sun is just egressing over into the moon, or the moon's egressing onto the sun. We're getting closer and closer. The light here on the ground is visibly different, and looking up at the sky, where we see a thumbnail moon. It is our thumbnail sun. It is gorgeous.
Wow. The ring of fire, the almost ring of fire, it looks so sharp and clear with our beautiful skies today.
Yeah, it really is almost that Johnny Cash moment. We're getting close to the ring of fire. It is really beautiful.
And if you're just joining us, welcome. You're looking at a live view from Bluff, Utah, where we are having totality of the annular solar eclipse. And you can even see some of the plasma coming off from the edge of the sun there as we have the ring of fire commencing. Switching over to a live view from Albuquerque, New Mexico, just 90 seconds away from totality. But we'll head back to Utah as we watch that totality occur from Bluff, Utah. Look at those incredible views looking at the edge of the sun's atmosphere. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, share the stream out, invite people to join us.
Feel the atmosphere building up.
Yeah, it is palpable. Everybody is super excited here. I know I am just thrilled. We are just in the final countdown. You can hear some people starting to cheer and starting to get all pumped up themselves.
Wow, the ring of fire is almost here. I'm just going to take my glasses off briefly and you can see the crowd, everyone is just staring safely at the sun right now. It's just amazing that we're all united looking at this amazing celestial event.
And make sure you take a look at the shadows around you. You're going to see these crescent shadows everywhere as different objects create natural pinhole projectors. And so make sure that you do have a moment to take a look at the world around you, because there's a beautiful rings. So let's take a minute and just be quiet and enjoy the view. a gorgeous sight to behold.
Everyone is cheering. This is so amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
This is amazing. You can hear people screaming in the background.
People are so excited. And take off your Eclipse glasses safely, of course, and make sure you look at the shadows around you, look at how the environment has changed, just make note of this entire event.
Wow, this is so amazing. This really puts our planet in perspective with the whole solar system, you know?
It's truly spectacular. It's one of those natural phenomenon that I just feel so lucky to be here at this place at this time to be able to observe it.
Wow, I'm just looking at a tiny pinhole below and I see a little ring, like a little spotlight. This is so cool.
You can see ringlets dotting everywhere around here. See people taking pictures of the ground.
How are you feeling, Michael?
Oh, this is spectacular. You know, we've been preparing for this event for so long. To actually be in this moment and to be experiencing it live is just tremendous. Joy, how are you feeling?
I'm just in awe, you know, I can feel the temperature drop and this ring of fire feels so long. It's just about 4 minutes long and it feels just incredible that we are seeing the moon right in front of the sun right now.
So that moon's shadow is traversing across the ground at a few thousand miles an hour, almost Mach 3. So even though it seems like it's lingering, it's actually making really good progress, and pretty soon our colleagues in Kerrville will be seeing annularity too.
Wow, and the crowds, everyone is still staring, looking at the annular eclipse. I love that everyone is here together, enjoying this together. Wow.
Yeah, you can almost hear a little bit of an awe and reverence among the crowd. Initially, there was a bit of cheering, and then everything got a little bit quieter as people took in the sight. I think that, you know, as people experience this event, it strikes both, you know, personal but also communal, and it's a really beautiful, beautiful event to see.
I would say we have about thousands of people in the fiesta today and hundreds on the museum grounds. Everyone is just excited about this eclipse and it's just so lovely to see.
And I think also what I really love to do is to look at the crowd and see everybody looking up at the sky with their glasses on in the same place. It's just, it's fun to do a little bit of people watching as well.
Yes. Wow, this is a perfect ring of fire. It's just so crisp.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm so excited for the science that is going to be coming out of this too. Of course, I always come back to the science, and this opportunity to have the moon covered to this extent is going to provide us really amazing data about how the sun and moon and Earth how they interact with each other.
Oh my goodness. We have about 30 seconds left of annularity here. I just want to absorb this moment.
It's so fast and so slow.
Definitely. Wow, what a sight.
Sometimes you just have to take a moment to take it in.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, we have a few more seconds left of annularity in Albuquerque.
Yeah, we're closing down on the last little bit. See if you can see a Bailey's bead possibly popping up right as that edge of the moon it aligns with the edge of the sun. Just seconds left. Really such a gorgeous sight.
It really is. Oh, that is going to be a moment to remember.
Absolutely.
So Kerrville is going to be experiencing this very, very soon. So let's head back to them in Kerrville, Texas to see what they're up to.
Oh, I mean, Joy and Michael, like, I got goosebumps watching you experience annularity, and Gina, like, that is about to be us soon.
It's true. I mean, so Tahira, we're about 550 miles away from them, and we will have annularity in about 10 minutes because, as Michael said, the moon's shadow is traveling more than 1,000 miles an hour. Everyone's so excited.
Yeah, as you can see, the crowd is just getting excited for today's opportunity. And folks, it's starting to get dimmer here. Like, it is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So, Gina, other than sheer beauty, why do we observe eclipses at NASA?
Well, NASA can learn a ton of different science from the eclipses. So let's talk about exoplanets for a second, because when we study exoplanets, we are actually using eclipses. The planet itself is passing in front of its host star, and so we can learn about the exoplanets. There are eclipses on other planets in our solar system that we can study, but here on
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're now looking at a live view from Roswell, New Mexico, where they are now in a total eclipse. Their Angularity 2023 solar eclipse has now the moon fully covering the sun in Roswell. And we, of course, are monitoring Kerrville, Texas, as we watch as the moon travels over 1,000 miles per hour, passing over from the northwest of the United States through the south central, giving the entire country an incredible view of the solar eclipse. If you haven't yet, follow us over on X or join our TLP Discord. We've been posting some photos from outside the TLP Canada studio here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. An absolutely incredible day. A reminder, as it is passing, if you do not have special safety glasses, please do not look at the sun. Protect your eyes. Take a piece of paper, poke a hole in it, hold the paper from the sun, and look at the ground where it's going to cast its shadow to enjoy the eclipse, or sit back and relax and enjoy it with us here. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that like button, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. But a beautiful view from Roswell, New Mexico, as we continue to monitor the 2023 angular solar eclipse passing through the United States. Switching back to NASA for just a moment, you can see on that map where they're tracking the eclipse, that gold ring in the center of their screen. That is where is currently experiencing any level of the totality as that passes across. But keep in mind, just because totality is ended, this is a multi-hour event where it will be covering even just a small bite of the sun, so you do still have some time. If you've taken photos or videos or went and attended an event today to watch the eclipse, make sure you're sending us those over on X, TLPN_official, or by joining our TLP Discord and sending them there. We're going to be posting some of those to social media. Heading back to Roswell, New Mexico, that total event now well in way, about to wrap up occurring. We're going to listen back in to NASA.
So a pretty complex process, and also you have to have special protection for the telescope itself because you're used to looking at pretty dim objects. What do you have set up for that?
So I have a white light solar filter, and it is incredibly important. Just like protecting your eyes, you need to have solar equipment for your telescope or your camera if you're photographing the sun.
Yeah, and so also this is obviously moving really quickly across our sky. You just heard from Michael that this is really quite a quick event here. So how do you keep it in the field of view of the camera?
Well, thankfully, the remote control that's part of the telescope actually has a city database set up, so I can program it for city and state, and Kerrville was actually listed.
Look at that. Very awesome. And yes, so you can see it's already moving very quickly towards us. This is where annularity is going to be currently taking place. You can see we're next in line here, coming up in just a little bit. So very excited to continue tracking this across our skies. Thank you so much for providing this awesome view for us all morning. You can really see it's really getting close now. It's got this beautiful crescent to it. Usually we're used to a crescent moon. We've got a crescent sun today. I mean, really awesome. And in just a few moments, we're gonna have the ring of fire of annularity. Very excited to have that. Thank you so much for joining us, Kat.
Thank you.
And back to you, Tahira.
Thanks, James and Kat. Now, we have about 6-ish minutes, 6:30, until annularity makes its way here to Kerrville, Texas. As you can hear, the anticipation is high.
They're so excited.
And so, Gina, as we count down to the big moment, let's take a few social questions.
Let's do it.
Okay. So we have something to see here on X, who asks, am I seeing a couple of sunspots on the telescope feed?
Yes, so you are seeing some sunspots. As I look at the live feed, maybe not so much right now because the moon is blocking most of the sun, but when the moon wasn't covering as much of the sun, you could see some darker spots, some black spots here and there, and those in fact are sunspots, which are areas of really intense magnetic fields, and the surface of the sun is actually cooler, which is why they appear darker than the rest of the bright sun that we see. Now, we heard a little bit about space weather and some of that solar activity that's coming towards Earth during, some of the sun's activity, and basically these sunspots are where that activity can come from. And right now, the sun is in the part of its solar cycle where more of those sunspots start to appear. So the sun goes through an 11-year cycle, where it becomes active and then where it becomes less active. And right now we're inching towards what we call that solar maximum. And so more and more of those sunspots appear, and that's what we're seeing today.
That is incredible. And I mean, again, talk about activity. Gina, this crowd right now, like, folks, if you could see it, I don't know if you exactly.
There you go.
We have folks looking up already with the Eclipse glasses on. You see the live telescope feed in your on the screen right now. We are moments away. What I think is super cool, we've even got some folks out here with their own telescopes and cameras to really capture this spectacular event.
Yeah.
And so, again, it looks like we've got about 4 minutes. The crowd is growing, and I'm interested to see how everything kind of calms down too. So we'll see. Gina, I have another question. This is from Baron on YouTube, who asks, does a solar eclipse have a material impact on the atmosphere?
Oh, I love this question, because with the eclipse, we really are trying to understand the sun-Earth connection. And so you can almost think of the eclipse as a controlled experiment. Basically, the fact that
taking a live look to Odessa, Texas, where we have total solar eclipse now occurring. You can see there look at the incredible view, that flare coming off the edge of the sun, both at the very top and at about 2:30. And on the bottom left side at about 8 o'clock. Some incredible views, and these views very rarely visible due to the naked eye with these special glasses and telescopes. So truly incredible views from the solar eclipse here today. If you haven't yet, make sure you're sharing out the stream, inviting people to join us. It's a beautiful day for a solar eclipse passing across most of the United States. And from what we've been hearing, most people are having pretty good weather. But if you're not, we're glad that you're joining us here live on the launch pad here at TLP. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together, and we're honored that you're joining us for the solar eclipse here today, the first of two in the next year, 2024, a total solar eclipse passing on the United States, but on the other side of the country. If you're interested in joining the TLP crew, consider joining, filling in an application. We're excited to bring on some new journalists and researchers. Consider heading over to that. But we're going to listen back into NASA as we continue to monitor live from Odessa, from Kerrville, and across the country.
And it looks like, too, we're getting a live feed.
Looking at that feed.
All of another annularity taking place right now. Odessa, Texas. Wow.
Oh, there we go.
It's cool to see this comparison right now. What is that? What's on the side of the screen?
Like we might have some solar activity.
Is that a Bailey's bead?
Yep.
Or solar activity? Wow.
Wow. That's
incredible. It is leaving Odessa right now and heading
It's coming our way.
Us,
you
Gina.
can see
oh my
it
goodness.
in the other live feed that we just have that teeny tiny sliver of the sun left peeking out.
Wow. We've got about 2 minutes here, folks. As you can hear, the crowd is chanting and counting down until our moment right now. Oh, that is beautiful.
It's coming in so quickly, too.
And you can
I'm going to grab those glasses so that I have them.
Okay, wow. So before we hit our moment and peak in annularity, folks, it's a good time to give a reminder that it is never safe to look directly at the eclipse without proper eye protection when watching even a partial or annular solar eclipse directly with your eyes. You must look through safe solar viewing glasses or a handheld viewer at all times. Do not look at the sun through a camera lens, telescope, binoculars, or any other optical device while wearing eclipse glasses. Wait, 1 more minute, folks. If you don't have eclipse glasses, glasses, you can use an indirect viewing method, like a pinhole projector, which has a small opening and will project the image of the sun onto a nearby surface. You just heard it. We are under a minute away from the annular eclipse making its way across our area into Kerrville, Texas.
It feels like it's gotten here so quickly. We've been counting down.
I know.
And now we're less than
It
a
is
minute.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
so, again, you're witnessing firsthand the moon passing between our star and the Earth. And we're taking this full screen right now. Gina, let's take this opportunity and get a closer look.
All right.
Oh my gosh,
And looking
this is
around,
the
I mean,
first
everything is so
time.
dim.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. Wow, you know, like, why am I emotional right now?
Oh, there we go.
Oh my God, this is.
I mean, it doesn't look real.
I didn't think I would cry. Like, what the heck is going on? Wow. This is.
Wow. It looks great.
I mean,
you can just see, it looks like a perfect circle of the sun
perfect
peeking out. It really is that ring of fire that we have here.
Wow. Gina, I thought I'd have goosebumps, but I'm like literally shaking. This is crazy.
I know. I know. I agree.
So, I mean, this
And
is
I'm
your
just-
first annular eclipse. I mean, was it what you expected?
It is to hear, I mean, we've seen all of the photos from previous annular eclipses, but just as I look again, I mean, it's incredible how the moon and the sun are able to line up like this.
And again, I mean, the moon is way smaller than the sun, but right now it's really giving it a run for its money.
It is, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, so a little fun fact about our moon that's pretty incredible. It's 400 times smaller than the sun, but it's also 400 times closer to the Earth.
No
and
way,
that
400 and
400 is
400?
the magic number here, yeah. The fact that 400 and 400, that means in the sky, the moon and the sun appear to be the same size. And that is unique to us on Earth. No other planet in our solar system has that ratio that makes it so special.
So you're saying that if we viewed an eclipse on another planet, it wouldn't look like this?
It wouldn't. I mean, I'm sure it would be great to see, but it would not look as spectacular as this.
Wow, okay, I'm gonna turn behind me really fast.
Yeah, looking around. And you can just see everything. The shadows are a little bit different. It's dim. You get this hazy feeling, but the sky is still blue. That's what's strange about it.
Oh, it's so sweet. We've got parents like holding little eclipse glasses on their kids to look up. This is just, it's really amazing how just like, I don't know, a natural phenomenon can really make the world pause for a second.
Great.
Wow.
You heard the cheering and now it's
I know,
quiet
now
again
it's
as people are
quiet.
just looking.
And so for us, this is gonna last about 4 minutes until it crosses, right?
That's right.
And why is that? Is that the same in every city or?
Yeah, so there's actually the length of the maximum eclipse can change based on several factors. I mean, each eclipse is unique. And so one thing has to do with where in the moon's orbit the moon is, because the moon's orbit isn't circular. So it will go faster and slower at different parts. And that will make the shadow travel at different speeds. Also, where the shadow is landing on Earth will have an impact, because if you're at the equator, you're going to be rotating much faster than if you were at the poles. And so for that fact, it changes the length of that maximum eclipse too. And that's true not just for annular eclipses, but for the partial eclipses, for the totality, for total solar eclipses as well. And I imagine, our folks at home getting some of those partial eclipses are also having a great experience too.
Wow. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. Like, this is incredible. And so, Gina, I'm sure, I mean, you're in heliophysics, sun science. I'm sure some of your teams are studying today's eclipse. Like,
oh yeah,
what?
absolutely.
So what kind of science can only happen right now, you know?
Right. We've heard about the sounding rockets that are experimenting.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
right. We
today,
saw one, yeah.
studying the upper atmosphere. And so we're really interested in knowing, like right now in our location, as that radiation from the sun's being blocked, how does the upper atmosphere change? And so in addition to that, I mean, we really want to understand how those sunspots, what's going on when they're covered versus when they are not covered. We can tell the difference in that radiation that's coming from the sun. And so there's so much science that we can do.
And this is just, folks, view is just so incredible. Before we fully pass through this transit, let's check in with James at our Eclipse desk. James, I know you are seeing this. What do you think?
It's truly a surreal moment. It feels like almost nighttime. It's been really breezy, chilly. The shadows are all like little rings as well. It's just a beautiful sight. Kind of hard to put into words the exact feeling. I mean, we've been preparing for this for a while. We've, been tracking this all morning with our Eclipse Explorer, but actually to see it in person and to take it in, it's a really incredible moment, and this only lasted about 4 minutes. You can see on our Eclipse Explorer, this is already passing off of Kerrville, heading further southeast to parts of the Texas coast on the Gulf. And the morning is far from over here. For a lot of folks in Central America and South America, their morning is just starting off here. The partial eclipse is affecting still a large part of the region. You can see this whole area that's highlighted here in the larger ellipse here. That's all being affected still by that partial eclipse. And you can see on our track that this is going to continue moving further southeast all the way into parts of South America before the morning's over. It's been just incredible tracking this. And actually, Kerrville, we're in the path of the total solar eclipse for next year. So if I turn on the path for next year, you can see X marks the spot here in Kerrville. We're going to be coming right back here to witness this incredible cosmic event once again, getting that incredible view. Just really, again, very hard to put into words just how amazing this is. Just a stunning experience, and it's been an honor to be here with you this morning, tracking this event as it's moved across. We started the morning in Eugene, Oregon. Now it has arrived and already passed us in Kerrville. I'll continue to track it for a little bit longer here, but for now, back to you, Tahira.
Thank you, James. And folks, this is just the beginning. Today's event kickstarts NASA's Heliophysics Big Year, which is a year where we're encouraging people to do as many sun-related activities as possible in the lead up to next year's total solar eclipse. Now, Joy and Michael in Albuquerque are going to share some of the ways you can play a part. Joy, what can we look forward to?
Now that the annular eclipse is here, the fun has just begun. So today is the official launch of NASA's Heliophysics Big Year. This is a year-long celebration of solar science, and it's modeled after the Big Year concept from citizen scientists in the bird watching community. So they're challenged to see as many birds as they can, but in the Heliophysics Big Year, we're challenging you to do as many sun science-related activities as possible. And so one way to participate is through NASA's citizen science projects. Here are a few sun-related ones you could join.
Did you know that?
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. We're continuing to monitor the eclipse. If you're interested in how you can be part of NASA's citizen science, definitely check that out on their website. Taking a look back to Odessa, Texas, where the total eclipse has occurred. Some incredible views here today. If it's your first time, make sure you subscribe so you never miss another space-related live broadcast. Is here at the launch pad. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together, and we bring you full live coverage of every launch from around the world, as well as dockings, undockings, and returns to Earth, special live events, broadcasts, returns, as well as live conferences, teleconferences, briefings, astronaut interviews, factory tours, and more, because we are living in a new era of space exploration, and we're excited to take you deeper into that and show you generally what the public doesn't always get to see, and we've got some excited stuff we're working on for the next year. Let us know in the chat where you're watching from. I know we've had many people joining from around the world here today, many people watching the eclipse with their own eyes in person, and it's been awesome to see your guys' response to that. If you haven't yet, take a moment, make sure you answer that poll. Have you been able to see an eclipse in person? If yes, solar, lunar, or both, or if you've not actually gone to see one. We're going to answer some of your guys' comments and questions now, so you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad, and we'll work on answering those live. If you want to send those in, we will be keeping an eye on that. But as we continue to watch a live view from Odessa, Texas, and switching over to a live view from Albuquerque, New Mexico, you can see these total events now wrapping up as the eclipse is finishing its pass over the United States. Truly beautiful morning here across the U.S. We got Denise watching from San Antonio, Texas. You would have had an amazing view. Jules is in Minnesota, I believe. Aditya is watching in Indonesia. We got Fabula in California. Great having here. K333, not me looking directly at the sun all morning. Well, I hope not. We want to make sure you're staying safe there. But taking a live look back at Odessa, Texas. Daniel just watched this from the UK at 6 p.m. Welcome, Daniel. Great to have you here. We got Edward watching from Long Island, New York. Jeremy, good to see you as always from Pennsylvania. Thanks for tuning in. If you guys have questions about eclipses or anything space, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. I also, just a quick reminder, we're excited to welcome some new people onto the TLP crew here. We are looking for a few more rocket chasers across the country, as well as looking for a few more volunteers to join our TLP news team as we continue to expand that. So if you're interested, consider heading over, fill out an application. Even part-time's available. We'd love to have you join the TLP crew. We got Emilio from New Jersey. Darrell is in Dallas, Fort Worth. You would have had a great view today. Ginger, good to see you as always from Lakewood, Washington. Would have had a great view. Peter, waving your hand from Texas. Well, thanks so much for being here. Susan is in El Paso, Texas. Thanks for joining in. Anyone in Texas would have had a beautiful view here. Michael's watching from Wichita, Kansas, 100% cloudy. I am so sorry, Michael. That is heartbreaking. I am normally in your camp, but today we had a clear day here at the studio, so we're incredibly grateful. But hopefully next year, for the total eclipse, we will be bringing you live coverage. Hopefully you'll have a clear view. We got Aiden in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Doug's in Massachusetts. Alan here in Eugene, Oregon. It was too cloudy to see the eclipse. Oh, Alan, you guys were the first people to see it. I'm heartbroken to hear that. We got Karina, hope I'm saying that right, from Massachusetts. Phyllis is in Louisiana. Emilio, I haven't seen one. Let us know in the chat, was this your first, if this was your first eclipse that you got to see either online, or if it was your first eclipse you got to see in the person. If it was that, let us know in the chat. Dylan, when will it hit Dallas, Texas? It already will have. It is now past totality for all of the United States and is now exiting. Pharrell, watching from San Francisco. Jeremy, cloudy, can't see the eclipse. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's one of those ones, unfortunately, that just like rocket launches, the weather plays a huge role in what we're able to see. Randy, what is it like on the far side of the moon? Really bright right now. And technically, on the far side of the moon, you're having a reverse Earth eclipse because the Earth would get dark. So that'll be interesting to see. We got Rhubarb from Knoxville, Tennessee. Siri in Poland. Jules, first in person. The last one was too cloudy. That is so awesome. Congratulations, Jules. It's great to hear. Edward, I watched my first through welding goggles. It was epic. That is what we were using here. We have a couple pieces of glass that we were able to get back during the 2017 eclipse that we've kept. And if you are on our TLP Discord, I've been posting some photos in our space chat from outside the studio watching the eclipse. So definitely join us over on our TLP Discord. We're going to be doing a lot more community hangouts in general chat and with launches. So definitely consider joining us there if you're interested in being part of a awesome space community. Pharrell, taping solar glasses on an iPhone ain't easy. No, it definitely isn't. I was using some big pieces of glass. Well, not big, but, gum pack size pieces of glass. I'll post a picture on Discord of what we were using and holding it up to an iPhone. It's definitely not the easiest thing to capture photos of, but it was quite amazing. Rachna, hope I said that right, using cardboard. Catching up. Aditya can't see the eclipse where I'm at, blocked by the Earth itself. Well, hopefully you guys will have some solar eclipses in the next couple of years. There's definitely, they kind of jump around the world on who gets to see them. Barb and Autumn from St. Louis, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you being here. GNF, amazing from here in Caddo Mills, Texas. Thanks for joining us. Dylan didn't see anything in Texas. Sorry about that, Dylan. We got Mark from Round Rock, Texas. Cali blue skies, can see the eclipse. That's awesome, Mark. Jeremy, when is the next one? I have to double check the dates, but I want to say it's May or June next year. I'd have to double check. But we've got a little bit of time till the next one. Lightning Jack, anyone use blackened glass to watch? I'm not sure what we got, to be honest. We've got two different pieces. They have green tinges. I'll be honest, my grandfather picked them up for me in 2017. And they're for welding. And we have to, if you only use one of them, it doesn't work. You have to use both to be able to see the view clearly and safely. Aditya, does watching the eclipse from the midnight side of the Earth count as a double eclipse? Sure, let's go with that. Rancha, April, perfect. Thank you so much. It's April 8th. Thank you for Stratoblaster, PBJ. Thanks for sending that in. Appreciate it. Mark, I'm using level 12 welding shade lenses. That's what you need to use. We've got a Z87NH, and we've got a ANSI Z87 Plus CSA Z94.3. And if you put them over, they work. But if you only use one, it doesn't. Will be visible near the North Pole. I don't think the North Pole might have had a couple % of eclipse today, but definitely wouldn't have had a whole lot of eclipse, just due to its positioning. Switching from Odessa back to Kerrville, Texas for a clean view there, taking a look at incredible views of this eclipse. Again, thank you to NASA for helping bring these live views. Machine Man, I used my safety squints in Oklahoma. That's awesome. Helen, I saw the sun but was too bright. Was watching on here. The amazing coverage. Thanks, Helen. Appreciate it. Ginger, saw a partial eclipse in Lakewood, Washington. Great to hear that you were able to see it there. Definitely something to put on your calendar, keeping track as you get ready for that April 8th total solar eclipse. Kind of going to be the opposite path. This one went from the northwest to the south central. The next one will go from south central to the northeast. So kind of great that within a year, the entire United States will have an eclipse path. And we hope that you will join us back here then for that. If you haven't yet, make sure you engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, space news update, or exclusive one-on-one interview. We sat down with one of the vice presidents of Stoke Space for a one-on-one, and we're excited to be releasing that later this upcoming week, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Audio, still a good time watching your shadow in the areas when the eclipse. Yeah, watching the shadows, I've seen some photos on social media. It's really amazing seeing what the shadows do. Even though we only got to 57% eclipse here at the TLP Canada studio, you definitely could feel a weather change. It was incredibly crisp.
Any of other NASA's other citizen science opportunities, go to go.nasa.gov/HelioBigYear. Well, thank you to everyone joining us online and here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's been an unforgettable day, hasn't it, Michael?
Oh, it certainly has. I will never forget this day. It has been just a day full of activity and memories that will last a lifetime.
And as NASA's getting ready to wrap up their live coverage, I want to say thank you so much to all of you for joining us here at the launch pad here at TLP. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. And if you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage, docking, undocking, exclusive interview, or more right here at the launch pad, because here at TLP, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. If you haven't yet, head on over to our Discord. The link will be in the chat for you to join that. We'd love to invite you to join as part of our TLP community, and we invite you back here because we ultimately, as we say, believe that space is better together. We'll listen in NASA as they continue to wrap up their live coverage, I believe, in the next few minutes, but a beautiful day across the United States watching the 2023 annular solar eclipse passing from Washington and Oregon all the way down through Texas. Make sure you head over to Discord. That's where we have posted some photos from our TLP studio view, and send us your photos. If you took photos or videos, or even just photos of you attending and watching the eclipse, send those over on X or via Discord, as we'd love to see what your view of today's solar eclipse would like. Also, head on over to the TLP shop. That's where you can get some of our space gear, and keep an eye out. Our 2023 holiday collection is coming very soon, and we're excited to get that out to you. But that's going to do it for us from our TLP Canada studio. We're going to send it back to NASA as we get ready to wrap up our live coverage of the 2023 solar eclipse across the United States. From our TLP Canada studio, thank you so much for watching. We'll send it back to NASA.
Light, but it's still hard to see parts of the corona.
It's not the same as the total eclipse?
Yeah, the total eclipse gives the best environment for studying the corona.
Right, but we were so lucky to just see that prominence coming off of the sun.
And what is the prominence?
And so that's actually some of that solar particles, some of the particles coming off of the sun, the ejecta, and we can kind of see it hanging there, which either turns into an eruption, some of that activity that we can observe, or it can kind of just quiet down as well. Yeah. So, Kate, can you tell us, how can the public get involved with the total solar eclipse?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, so we have a number of citizen science projects. These are projects where people anywhere around the world can help contribute to our science. You don't have to be in the path of totality to contribute. We have projects for everyone. And they're different projects. Some of them you need cameras or telescopes or equipment. Others you can use just with your cell phone. So we have one project that's called On the Globe Observer app. It's to help understand the effect of eclipses on Earth's weather, and you can do that just with your phone.
Do you need a science background, or?
Anyone can contribute. We walk you through what you need to do, and sometimes it's as simple as taking a picture or recording a sound. And so you can all contribute to our science.
So anybody can get involved?
Anyone can get involved.
Perfect. And then can you tell us a little more how the eclipse science that we're doing will help to inform kind of the broader science at NASA?
Yeah, and so like I said, we're trying to study the corona, this source of heat and particles towards Earth. They affect Earth. They can disrupt electronics. They can lead to northern lights. So we're really interested in that in Earth and understanding the effects on Earth. But there's also the sun affects other planets and bodies in the solar system, like the moon and Mars. And so when we think about exploring the solar system, we want to understand the sun and its role in it.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, we have so much to look forward to next year. I want to know real quick, what's your peak excitement for next year's total solar eclipse? We'll start with you, and then Kate would love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. So I'm really excited to compare what we saw today, that annular eclipse. How does it compare to that total solar eclipse? I got to see a total in 2017, but every eclipse is unique, and so
such a scientist.
I know.
Want to do
that
a
is
little
my experiment. How many data points can I get? But not just that. We're hearing everything about the heliophysics big year, and so it kicks off today, and that total solar eclipse in April will be the next event. So how many events can I participate in for the heliophysics big year?
Amazing. What about you, Kate?
I'm interested in sort of the things beyond just what you see, but what you feel, so that it's going to get cooler, and we might hear some animals.
Today, we felt that.
Yeah, and I really want the full body experience of the eclipse.
That is incredible. And I mean, today has been a spectacular day. So folks, let's check in one last time with James at our Eclipse desk to see how he's doing. James, what's it like?
Yeah, Tahira, I'm still in awe of the moment that we just had here a couple minutes ago here in Kerrville, Texas. Just a stunning view of that ring of fire here. And as you can see on our Eclipse Explorer, the annularity has now shifted off into the Gulf of Mexico. So if you're in a boat out there, you'll have a phenomenal view. But we're going to be here once again next year, April 8th, 2024 in Kerrville, Texas. I've got the path of the 2024 total solar eclipse up here on the screen. You can see it's tracking right through us in Kerrville and then affecting an entirely new area here that is going to be stretching all the way up to parts of New England, all the way up to Maine, even parts of Canada. So a really large area there as well. So definitely save those pinhole projectors and certainly keep a hold of those Eclipse glasses. You're going to need them for next year. We're going to be right back to cover all of that incredible stuff next year with you. It's been amazing tracking this today. And again, this is still moving onwards to Central America and South America. So if you're tuning in from there, you have a great view incoming. And in many parts of the country, there's still that partial eclipse. A truly awe-inspiring morning and a wonderful day for all. So thank you so much. Back to you, Tahira.
And thank you so much, James, for bringing us into the action during today's show. Gina, so wow. I mean, this was both of our first experiences. So final thoughts.
I mean, what a day. At this point, you know, I'm ready to look at those calculations for the eclipses and check out not only April, but what else can I see in the future? Because these are spectacular to
A little
see.
eclipse chaser now.
Exactly. I'll
you know?
chase them around the world.
No, and it has been so fantastic having you on today's show to
Thank
really
you.
just like help break down what we are experiencing today. And so
course.
again, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for having me.
And folks, the action isn't over yet. You can continue to watch views of today's annular eclipse as it moves across the path by visiting go.nasa.gov/eclipse 2023 live. That live stream will continue running until 4:30 p.m. Eastern as this eclipse continues its way through Central and South America. Now, unlike today's Ring of Fire effect, we are going to witness the moon completely block out the face of the sun during next year's total solar eclipse. The sky is going to darken as if it were dawn or dusk. You can learn more about eclipses and what's in store for April 8th, 2024 by visiting go.nasa.gov/eclipses. The total solar eclipse is sure to be a rare event and one you will not want to miss. So stay up to date with sun-related events and how we are studying our star by following NASA Sun on social media. Folks, thank you to everyone who has tuned in to today's coverage of the 2023 annular solar eclipse. We hope to see you back here next April as we ring in the last total solar eclipse that will pass through the mainland U.S. for 2 decades. Now, here's how you can celebrate the countdown to April 8th by joining our Heliophysics Big Year.